Prospecting, my friends, intelligent prospecting, intelligent sales. I have the man, I have the myth, I have the legend, Mr. Sam Richter. Welcome to the Selling Show.
Hey, thanks so much, David. As you know, it's always an honor to be with you. I'm so incredibly impressed with everything you've built. So anytime I can spend time with you, I hope that some of your wisdom comes through the electrons of the internet and invades my brain. Hopefully I can get just a little bit of your wisdom.
I'm sure that it will, but this time the electron flow is going to go the other way.
Okay, you got it.
So let's talk about sales intelligence.
Yeah.
Big picture, macro level, like Denzel Washington would say, explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. What is wrong with not using sales intelligence, and how do people know that this might be the missing ingredient for their sales success?
Sure, very simple. People are amazingly passionate about one thing. What do you think it is?
Themselves?
It's themselves, yeah. But what do we do as salespeople? You know, especially now that we have fewer minutes or less time to spend with somebody. We're not taking people out for lunch. We're not getting to spend 4 hours with them on the golf course. We end up talking about ourselves. We end up showing our PowerPoint presentation, showing our catalog, showing our different product sheets. When you know what? Your prospect, your client, your customer, they don't care, but they're massively passionate about themselves. So really sales intelligence, it's really the concept from a Denzel Washington level is nothing new. It's Dale Carnegie. You know, people call me the modern day version of Dale Carnegie because it's quite simple. Carnegie says the sweetest sound in the English language is the sound of someone's name. Actually, he says the sweetest sound in any language is the sound of someone's name. And the modern day world is the sweetest sound in any language is the sound of someone's name based on what they care about. So sales intelligence is using the tools we use every day, like Google and social media and other tools that most people have never heard of, to find information so you can call on the right people at the right time, what's going on in their world where they might actually want to hear your message with the right message. How do we make sure that we're aligning our solutions with the other person's goals, how to help them overcome their fears, or as I like to say, their care-abouts?
Yes, so good. And I think a lot of sales training talks about prospect research, and they talk about relevance. Really important to be relevant. Sam, you got to show up with a relevant problem, relevant solution, and they stop there. Yeah. And it's like, okay. So then compare that with, again, standard sales training. You got to have your dream 100. You got to have your amazing list of companies or people that you want to do business with. And we come across like a cold calling, ignorant spammer stranger.
Yeah.
So let's say that we have our dream 100. We have our target list. That's the beginning of the process. It is not the end.
Right.
And the other objection that I think a lot of professional services sellers will say, but I don't have a relationship with Bob at 3M. I don't have a relationship with Sam over at Google. I don't have a relationship with Brenda who works at IBM. Talk about the trigger events, talk about some of the DNA markers of where we might make an approach that would be highly researched and highly relevant.
Well, let me answer that again we'll start out with the Denzel answer first, right? You said the magic word, relationships. And I think a lot of sales trainers use that. And there's this feeling that relationships, because I guess in the real world that we live, a relationship is a two-way. Like David, you and I have a relationship. I care about you. Hopefully you care about me. We know about each other. We say hello to each other when we see each other at conferences. We're buddies, right? But in sales, you don't necessarily have to have that type of a relationship. So for example, David, if you were buying a new HVAC, a new air conditioner for your home, do you need to have a relationship with the HVAC installer? No. You don't care about his dog, his religious affiliation, political affiliation, how many kids he has, and what's he going to be doing for retirement. You don't need to know any of that.
Right.
However, that HVAC representative needs to have a relationship mindset with you. So it's not really a two-way relationship. In my opinion, it's a one-way relationship mindset, meaning that if I were going to sell you an air conditioner unit? Well, I could come in like most salespeople and, hey, I'm going to sell you the product that we want to move out of our warehouse. We got special discounts on, right? Versus if I know you, now a lot of this is done through questioning, doesn't have to be done on the internet, but if I know you've got kids, but sometimes those kids are off to college, you get stay at, so it's now you're an empty nester. So there might be 2 levels of your house that you never use. However, when those kids are home, you want them used. And so I'm going to introduce you to the new Widget 3000 air conditioner, because that has special sensors that only turn on when a human being is in that particular room. I made that up, but you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
You don't have to care about me as the buyer, but I need to care about you. So that's a mindset. So that's the first part of it, is understanding that it's not a 2-way relationship, it's a 1-way relationship mindset. Then to getting specifically toward your question, well, how do we do that? It's not just going to your website, assuming we're selling business to business, because on your website is your marketing brochure. The only things you're going to find there are what you want me to know. What I want to find out are what are called sales triggers. What's going on in your world where you might actually want to talk to me today? So for example, a sales trigger, let's say that you sell IT equipment, you sell software. Wouldn't it be nice to know if a company is expanding, if they're growing? Why? Because then they need new licenses. If they're entering new industries, new markets. Why? Because they might need a new CRM system. They just had a cyber breach. Why do we care? Because maybe you sell cybersecurity. Whatever it is, a sales trigger is what's going on in the other person's world where they might actually want to hear from you today. So for example, using the HVAC, wouldn't it be nice to know, because I could market and sell to everybody in a community, but wouldn't it be nice to know, well, which are the houses that were sold, or maybe what were the houses that were built 15 years ago, but sold in the past year? Why? Because they're going to need a new air conditioning unit pretty soon. So that would be an example of a sales trigger. Don't market and sell to everybody. Figure out who's out there that actually might need to hear your message today.
Yes. One of the things that I teach and preach, and then people go, how does that work? And then I point to my friend Sam Richter. I say every prospect, when you reach out to them, they've got 3 questions that is in their head. Why me? Why this? Why now?
Wow.
Right? Why is this person reaching out to me? Like what put me on their radar?
Yep.
Why are they talking about this issue or this problem or this goal or this aspiration? And why now? Why not last week? Why not last month? Why not next year? Why not 3 years from now? So talk a little bit about the magic of answering those 3 questions. Why me? Why this? Why now? And how that lubricates an initial door opening campaign.
Sure. Well, the why me is finding the right decision maker. Now that usually can be done based on a job title, but typically we need to know that there are multiple levels of decision makers. There's ultimately the check writer, but the check writer is not often the person that you're selling to. The person you're selling to might be the check writer, but it might also be what's called the influencer. So for example, if I'm director of marketing at a company and you want to sell search engine optimization services, well, you're probably selling to the director of marketing. Assuming it's a small, mid-sized business, the decision maker is still probably the CEO. So now the CEO, they may have different careabouts, for lack of a better term, than the director of marketing. The director of marketing may be very interested in click-through rates and the ability to target and time to market and creativity. The CEO just cares about cost. What's it going to cost me? And does my director of marketing like working with you? So you need to understand the different levels of buyers. Now we also need to know too that there could be someone who I guess is a naysayer in an organization, and those are important people to recognize as well. Using that example, who might that be? Maybe they have an in-house SEO assistant. Well, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, wait a second. Now, you as the seller might know that you're going to make that assistant's job a lot better, more valuable. They'll be able to spend their time on areas of the business that show how smart they are. They'll get a promotion. but they might see you as an immediate threat. So knowing the different types of buyer within an organization is really important. And understanding their careabouts is also really important. So that's the why me. Why am I calling on you? The why now is, again, maybe we've done a little bit of research. We find out that, again, they're expanding. They just announced that they're growing. They just announced that they're receiving funding. They just announced a new hire, a new executive hire. Whatever that reason might be that I'm reaching out. Now, let's be blunt. Sometimes the reason is, hey, I built a list of qualified leads and you were on it. But we should still try to find a little bit of information to align what we have to sell with what the other person cares about. So now, what was the third? It was the why me, the why now.
Why this?
Why this? Because we have to align. Listen, selling is not that hard. It's really quite simple. What do they care about? What are my solutions? Do they interact, or do they intersect? Excuse me. So, if you think of two circles, what are my solutions? What are their careabouts? Do they intersect? It's where that intersection occurs where a sale can occur. So
love that.
It has to be, you can't walk in and say, here's our 79 different products and solutions we could sell you.
Yes.
It's got to be, I've got 79 different solutions based on what I've done some homework on. Here are the 3 that might be best for you. Now, I skipped a few steps there. Based on what I've done my homework on, let me ask you some additional questions to verify that what I found is accurate.
Yes. I think another thing that people really need to internalize and act on is there is a huge difference between someone who does not do their homework and then someone who does their homework. Yeah. Then there's a big difference between someone who does their homework and lets the prospect know that they have done their homework.
Yeah.
Right. So you can come in armed with all of this intelligence and then not reveal that, hey, why me? Why this? Why now? That's a tougher call than here's the reason I'm calling. And again, it could be a trigger event, new hire, compliance, regulatory, market shifts, upsizing, downsizing, good news, bad news, right sizing, expansion, contraction, whatever it is. But we have to have an intelligent approach. Now, I know that you years and years ago, we're going to go old school here, years and years ago, you wrote a fantastic book that came out in multiple editions called Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling. Mm-hmm. And since then, you have translated that methodology and that tool set into software.
Yeah.
So tell us about the transition from Take the Cold Out of Cold Calling book, which is a fantastic hook, and then the software that you have built and how all of that works.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a long time ago. So anybody who's listening, don't
buy it. Don't buy it.
Yeah, David, has there ever been a guest on your podcast that have said, "Don't go buy my book"? Don't go buy my book.
You're the first.
It was written in 2015. Well, it was written in 2012. Or 2008. There have been 12 editions. I think the last time I updated it was 2015.
Yeah.
I'm going to update it again. I took a different direction. So what happened in 2015 is I did what all great speakers do, right? We create our online university. We all have them. We love them. They're awesome. And they're a lot of fun, and they provide an incredible amount of value. But I was in the shower one day, and where most good ideas come, right? And I was thinking, what new video should I shoot? This was probably now about 2017, 18. What new videos should I shoot? I thought, you know what? Nobody wants a video. What they just want are answers. I'm going to teach myself how to build a search engine. So what I determined, now a traditional search engine is more like a database, right? It's scraping. So you think of Google. Google's really nothing more than a big vacuum cleaner that's sucking up words and pictures off of the internet, stores those in the vacuum cleaner bag, or a database. You go in and type in 1, 2, or 3 words. They use some magic algorithms in the back end to determine here are the websites and pictures that you want to see. So that's a pure database where it's sucking information, or it's pure search engine, sucking information in, storing it in a database, and then producing results based on what you were looking for. What I realize is I'm not going to do it better than Google. I'm not going to do it better than LinkedIn. Why even try? So what I built is, think of it as more of a search engine overlay, where where imagine if, let's say you're in the HVAC industry. Now you want to sell to commercial buildings. You could go into LinkedIn and you could do searching. You could go into Google and find decision makers. What I've built are custom engines for different industries where you can go in and type in a name of a building and it will only pull up the 5 or 6 different job titles you care about, from executive leadership to facilities manager, operations director, whatever those different job titles are. So it's a laser focus. I call it hyper laser focused search engines to find the right people. Then we customize them based on the triggers, those sales triggers we talked about earlier, what's going on in their world with the right message. Then I produce custom news searches as well based on those specific companies, their specific industries. So it's not a search engine per se, but it's the easiest way to describe it. It's just a laser focused search tool that are customized for just about any industry you can think of.
Now, anytime that we're using this kind of market intelligence, I can hear what our listeners are saying. And I'm sure your audiences and your clients say the same thing. But Sam, I don't want to seem like an ambulance chaser. I don't want to seem like I'm taking advantage of this horrible news or this, I don't want to seem like I'm sort of feeding off of them and I just show up at the right time with the right thing, which I know is a strange thing because you usually welcome people who show up at the right time with the right thing. How do you overcome that kind of creepy factor or the ambulance chaser objection that your clients might say, well, Sam, wouldn't it be creepy for me to know that? Or wouldn't it be weird for me to just show up magically at the right time? Won't they be suspicious? Won't that set the meeting off in a weird direction?
Well, I think there's two answers to that question. There's the how do I make sure that I'm not creepy part, and then there's the ambulance chaser part. So let's take those first two. So the ambulance chaser part is really more, let's go back to the mindset. We have to remember that as salespeople, our mindset needs to be, look, I'm not trying to con you or convince you into buying crap you don't want. Rather, my mindset needs to be, David, I'm here. Now, I'm not going to use these words with you, but it's my mindset. Sure. David, I'm here to help you achieve your goals a little bit more efficiently, more effectively, more profitably than you might be able to do on your own. So it's really a discovery that I'm trying to do here. And when we think about ambulance chaser, I have to have the mindset. I'll use one that we can all probably relate to. Got an anniversary coming up or a birthday, whatever it might be. Now I can go into Amazon and spend hours trying to find the perfect gift. Now, nobody's done this, so maybe, David, we should start a business. As far as I know, no one's done this. We should start a business. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody just magically knew when my anniversary and when my wife's birthday is, which, by the way, super easy to find using sales intelligence. And they reached out to me and said, hey, I'm a personal shopper on Amazon. I know you've got some special dates coming up, and we'll talk about how to do that without being spooky in a minute. We know you have some special dates coming up. Would you like me to do some searching or some shopping on your behalf? And I will present you some gifts that you might choose from. And my only fee is a 10% upcharge. I mean, I just made that up off the top of my head, but I would do that in a heartbeat. Now, if somebody called me today, I'd be like, that sounds really cool. Send me some information, and it would sit in my inbox. And like 3 years from now, I'd be like, oh, why didn't I use those people?
Yeah.
But if they got me 3 days before, 5 days, but well, if they know me, 3 hours before my wife's birthday celebration, that's really, again, it's the mindset that I'm providing you value based on a time that you need that value. Now, the second part is really important. Number one, you don't have to share that you have the information. Something that's really important is having information is not to be used as fact. We've all kind of grown up in school learning that if you have got facts, you've got to share them. Yeah. Well, I think what we've all learned, we all know, is what you find online might not be accurate, number one. And again, we don't want to come off as too spooky. So we use what we find to ask better questions. I'll give you a very simple example. David, how big are you guys? I mean, it's not a bad question. It just shows that you didn't prepare.
Yes.
David, I was doing a little bit of homework. Now you're a privately held company, and the best I could find, it looks like you have a total team of maybe 15, 20 people. Now, I'm not sure if those are employees or consultants. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so it's asking questions. Now, other language that I use, it's a little corny, but so modify it for what you feel comfortable with, but some variation of, hey, David, before I meet with people, I like to do a little bit of homework. You're a busy guy. I don't want to waste your time. Now, what I've done there is I've completely differentiated myself from probably all the salespeople you've met with over the last few weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
Wow, somebody did their homework. David, before I meet with people, I like to do a bit of homework. You're a busy guy. I don't want to waste your time. Now, when we set up the meeting 3 weeks ago, you're like, I'll meet with you. We're doing a Zoom meeting now. I'm about to open up my catalog. You've got 3 board meetings you've got to prepare for. You've got sales calls. You got to get your dog to the vet. Is your mind really into the Zoom call? No. Here's how we flip that. Hey, David, before I meet with people, I like to do a bit of homework. You're a busy guy. I don't want to waste your time. Hey, guess what I found? What just happened? It's like, well, what'd you find? I have your full attention. What'd you find? Hey, I was doing some reading. It sounds like you're coming out with a brand new book. That's so exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And then you be quiet. Now, you might say, oh, that's that other David Newman. Oh, I'm so sorry, but at least I tried to do my homework. Or you might say, yeah, you're right, Sam. Where'd you see that? Oh, I was reading the Business Journal. You're in there a lot, David. Congratulations on that. But yeah, tell me a little bit about more of that book. And are you doing anything this time different with your book than what you've done with your other book? Do It Marketing was one of my favorites, right? So I've done my homework. Now I'm going to be quiet and listen, because all I've got to do is find 1 or 2 things that I know you care about, and then shut up.
Yeah.
And then let you go, because I will guarantee you'll share with me something, because as you're talking, I'm going to be very carefully listening where, he just talked about, he wants an interactive book this time. Funny, one of our 79 solutions is interactive book preparation. I'm going to file that right here when it's time for me to talk again.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really powerful. Well, I want to go behind the scenes,
Sure.
Behind the scenes of the Sam Richter empire. My first behind the scenes question, it's going to be weird, but like you said, we're friends, and this kind of is a funny question. How many blue shirts do you own?
Well, that's a great question. For those who've ever seen me speak, I wear different variations of blue shirts, although they don't like to, it's hard to tell, just different shades. Real reason why is it was probably 20 years ago when I first really got into speaking. I had a friend who's also a professional speaker, and she works with executives on their image. And we were out for coffee one day, and she said, Sam, you look great in a royal French blue shirt and dark pants. So what does any guy do? I head to Nordstrom's. I find a blue shirt that fits, and I'm like, I'll take 20 of those. It makes my life so easy for packing. Different shades. I've got 10 in one shade, 10 in another, just in case I'm presenting back to back at the same conference.
Very nice. I love that. And it's the uniform, right? I mean, we show up,
uniform.
It's a consistent branded look. It's our uniform. It's our,
I guess so, yeah.
speaking uniform, coaching, whatever it might be. All right. So that was behind the scenes question number 1. Much more interesting behind the scenes question number 2. Tell us how, as far as your speaking clients, kind of a meta question, how has the speaking landscape, keynotes, seminars, full day trainings, all of the wonderful things that you do, where are we kind of in this post pandemic world? Is live coming back? Are you doing a lot more virtual? Talk about just how your business is evolving in this new world that we're emerging into.
Well, I think, I'm surprised, actually. I thought it was going to be more hybrid. It's not. To me, it's almost 100%. We'll call it 90% in person now. I very rarely get booked for a virtual.
Yeah.
I will still, now where it's different is in my negotiations, I might suggest that we do the live, and I do a post-conference follow-up virtual. So I do an advanced session, or I do my session, but I record it virtual because I built a studio like many of us did. I record it virtual, and then I can sell that to them, or they can license it for a year for those members or employees who couldn't attend, or new members or new employees. But I would say the in-person is back pretty strong. I would say, the other parts that have really changed is the lead times are much shorter. Still the big associations might be a year, but I'm getting calls. Hey, what are you doing in October? I mean, that never used to happen.
Yeah.
And I would say from a what do people want? There's certainly a place for motivational entertainment. I mean, goodness knows, we all need a break. We all need to just let our mind turn off. So we certainly need those in our conferences. We certainly need great MCs in our conferences. But I would say, again, in general, I'm seeing many more requests for very practical. Like, I want people, if I'm going to spend money getting all these people together, they better be able to come home and make an impact in their business. And then I would say the last thing, David, would be I've seen a lot of big national, where they used to have one huge national sales conference. Now they're doing 5 or 6 regionals. Reason being is if there is a COVID outbreak, then the entire organization isn't down for a week.
Right.
And it also dramatically decreases the cost of travel. So I'm seeing less of the massive at the massive resorts, and more regional at the local Sheratons.
Now, when they hire you for one of those, do they typically hire you for all of them? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Sam, we've got 6 events that we'd like to talk to you about.
Correct. Yep. And what's nice is it's not the full fee at all 6, but it's all 6 combined is much higher than one full fee. So it works fine.
Yes. Next behind the scenes question. I know that this may be a recent addition to your business model. Talk about the Leadership Roundtable and what that is and how it works and how that came to be.
Yeah, it's just continually changing. Really, what I've done is I partnered with 3 dear friends of mine, Meredith Elliott Powell, Mary Kelly, and Mark Hunter. We all have different skill sets that we bring to people. And we put together our online university, and we found out that works fine. But really what we're doing now is we're just continually refining our own offerings, and much more just doing referring back and forth to each other. So for consulting, coaching, and speaking as well.
But the Leadership Roundtable is an entity unto itself, correct?
It is. Yeah, it is. We're not, and it's, to be frank, we're really not doing anything new with it at the moment. We probably will. But right now we're focusing on research projects, our own coming out of COVID, our own new programs. And then typically what happens is we produce those, then we bring them back together to provide value to our customers and clients.
Tremendous. Next question. Software, investing, partnering. There's an entire sort of software empire, in addition to your own Intel Engine suite of search engines. Talk about how you're kind of getting involved in some of these other projects, partnering with people in the software space.
Well, I think that there's a lot of brilliant people in software, and I suppose it's like, I used to be in advertising. I used to be an advertising creative director and writer. And I remember some of my mentors once said, anything that's ever good that's been written has already been written before. And you probably heard that from musicians. And so it's just a different twist on it, right? It's a different take on it, a different look. So sometimes, you can't, oftentimes, and I've made this mistake, we go out and we build a product because we have a great idea. What we have to do is, what do our customers need? What are they asking for? Then find out, has anybody else built it? Now, there are people who have built similar products to mine, but they're either way expensive or they're not customized. So, it's that 4-quadrant thing that we always do. We want to own the upper right. I want to own highly custom and fair price, or highly custom and affordable, whatever quadrant I want to own. And then, so for example, I've built so my tools, my Intel engines and SearchLink AI tools, those are very custom, and I like to say hyper personalized sales. I don't use my engines to find thousands. I find dozens. These are the exact people who need to hear from me now.
Yeah.
Now, every day I get a call. Hey, Sam, I just need a list. I just find me a list of all commercial building owners in Peoria whose business is worth more than X. You can use my tools to do that. It would just take a while. So I said, well, I could build a list building tool, but why? There are other people, other organizations with that skill set. So I found other organizations, in this example, Cantata Solutions. I said, okay, here's the kind of list building we need to build, because there's a niche in the marketplace for X, but I don't want to build all of it. Let's partner together and build X. So it's where I'm taking my expertise to see a very thin slice where there might be an opening in the market for a specific type of list building tool. That's what we built.
Yeah. Talk also a little bit about what is happening with I had a question.
Yeah.
It just evaporated. Phil, I'm going to take that again. I was looking at actually something on your website.
Oh, okay.
It sparked another follow-up question. So Phil, give me one moment. Oh, it was licensing. It was licensing. All right, Phil, we're going to pick it up from here. Sam, you mentioned something a couple of minutes ago that I think is worth stopping on and kind of unpacking a little bit, which is licensing. Mm-hmm. Licensing your tools, licensing your IP, licensing your videos, your webinars, your online presentations. Tell us a little bit of how you got into licensing and how you think about licensing, because I think the lines have been blurred, right? Thanks to COVID, it's like, oh, it's a presentation. Oh, it's a virtual presentation. Oh, it's a virtual presentation that gets recorded. And then, hey, client, what do you plan to do with that recording? Oh, we're going to put that on our internal intranet. We're going to put that in our learning management system, and we're going to show it to thousands and thousands of people over the next couple of years. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I signed up for. How do you cross that line from, I'm doing a virtual presentation. Yes, of course, it's on video. Yes, of course, it's recorded, but that doesn't mean that you can use it willy-nilly and show it to thousands more people. How do you think about that? And then how do you have the conversation with your client about it?
Yeah, I think it's not like, David, I'm some guru in this. I probably fail. Those who are a guru are probably going to disagree with a lot of what I'm going to say. First off, now I can do that because I've never given the same speech twice. My content changes, not only the customization of it, but the internet changes. So it's constantly changing. So I'm not completely worried if someone is showing a video of mine from 15 years ago, because half the stuff won't work anyhow.
Right.
Now, there have been many times in person and certainly virtual where I found out afterwards that they are going to be including it on their intranet site. You know what? Fine. I don't care. I want to provide value. I want to be an easy and a nice person to work with. I'll contact the meeting planner or whoever my buyer was, marketing director, VP of sales. I say, look, I've got no problem. Continue to show it to your people. I know you're hiring new people. Hopefully the reason you're showing it to them is you found value in my program. All that I ask is you don't make that available to the general public. And then people are very, do I track it? There are certain things I do that I can track, but in general, it's kind of a general person's agreement, and I don't think that's been violated. Now, what I try to do then is once I bring your blood pressure down, right? So I'm going to call you, David. I'm going to say, hey, David, I noticed, or I've heard that you are posting all of my content on your intranet site. Now, I'm doing that purposely because I want to get your blood pressure really high, and because I want you to think you're in trouble. And then I want to come back and be the good guy. That sounds awesome. I'm so honored that you're doing that, that you think it's so good. Now I brought your blood pressure down. Now I'm a nice guy. Okay. Now here's where, because I have my tools, is I'll say, David, my content changes all the time. As you know, I gave everybody 6 months access to the technology intel engine. Oh yeah, Sam, that was amazing. Great. I'll tell you what I'd like to do. Let's keep the thing on the intranet, but let's just do a very affordable licensing program where everybody gets access to my intel engine, and I'll do quarterly webinars. So we'll keep that content updated. And if there are sections of my original video to you that are no longer relevant, I'll re-record those and make sure it's always fresh. Let me house it on my site. I'll give you a link where you can embed it in your intranet site, and I'll keep that content up and running for you. So I'm not too big of a stickler, David. What I'm trying to do is continually provide more value. And oftentimes what I've done on some of the licensing things, it's ended up being way more revenue than just say a single speech, or certainly than a single, hey, I'm going to charge you an annual fee for that. I like to do monthly.
Right, right. So it sounds like you are licensing some of the IP, but really the licensing is about the Intel engine. Is that correct?
The Intel engine and the ongoing, as
ongoing
like
refresh.
Yeah, as I like to tell people, look, when you're hiring me, I'm going to be a little bit different than many others. I'm not one of these that's coming in and coming. I want to be a part of your success. I want to be thought of as a team member. So let's figure out a way if we can do that. Does that always happen? Of course not. Sometimes I'm just the speaker. I'm the tax write-off that they needed,
right,
so they could go play golf. But yeah, more, it's happening more often, where I do become, I like to say, about more of a valued business partner.
Absolutely. Well, and then eventually they realize that they really can't do their business without you, or they can't do it as well without you and the resources and the advice and the platforms that you provide to them.
Sure.
Yeah, now, love that.
The flip side of that is you have to be really good at the ongoing communication and providing client value. I have lost some customers because I've been so nose down, knee deep in building new tools that I didn't do a very good job of reinforcing the purchase that a customer already made and letting them know, hey, I've added some new features. Hey, here's how you can use this. I've almost I don't want to say taken it for granted, it's just, but I guess it could be seen that way, because I think when you go down the path that I've gone down, one of the things I've learned is continual client communication and value is as, if not more important than producing new stuff. But
absolutely,
quite bluntly, creating new stuff is sometimes more fun. So
yes,
got to figure out how to balance it.
Yes. Well, I will speak from firsthand experience that your Intel engine is an amazing, magical tool. And I think what you're talking about is the constant communication to increase and maintain the utilization. Because it literally is magic. It is amazingly powerful. If people use it for prospecting, research, outreach, it will transform their sales results, unless they don't use it. And if they don't use it, then it's like, well, why are we paying Sam again? It's like, well, that's where the ongoing communication and the new features and, hey, did you know? And here's a new use case. And here's what my other clients are using it for. I think this will be really helpful for you guys as well. And that's what keeps the utilization high. And that's what keeps the magic going.
Yeah. Yep. And the other big thing I've learned, David, in this, hopefully maybe some of the listeners will find valuable too, is I always, I always get excited about building, oh, wow, look what I can do. And then I build something for it that does that. And in some of my earlier iterations of my tools, my search engines kind of were like the Swiss Army knives. Oh, you needed a fork? Let me show you how to use the fork. Oh, I've got a knife. I've got a toothpick, right? And some of my newer iterations, they just do one or two things. And the analogy I use is we've both been hired to give the 30-minute speech. And it's like you get the standing ovation. It's awesome. But I kind of feel bad leaving the stage. Why? Because there's like 3 hours of great content that I could share with you to really help you, but I don't get it. And sometimes I feel that way with some of the tools I produce. It's like, yeah, but there's so much more that I could do for you. But then I have to back up and understand that they're not there yet. They just wanted to do these 3 things. And I guess that presents upsell opportunities later on. But, I recently read a Seth Godin a newsletter. I get his newsletter every day, where he actually talked about that exact same thing. And I'm going to paraphrase, but just because you can build a feature doesn't necessarily mean that you should build the feature.
Yes, very, very powerful. Well, as we're wrapping up, 2 final questions for you. The final question is, where can people get connected and stay connected to you, and what resources and gifts do we have? But before we get to that, the second to last question is, if folks were to take one overarching idea from our entire conversation today about research, relevance, sales intelligence, What do you hope that big overarching takeaway would be?
Sure. And I think it really mirrors your transformation, David, from moving from marketing into sales. And that is, in today's world, it's no longer enough to be interesting. Interesting is a great website, a YouTube video, social media, a book. It's no longer enough to be interesting, because it's easy to be interesting. To succeed in sales and in business, you have to be interested in the other person. What do they care about? And can you help them achieve their goals a little faster, more efficiently, more effectively, more profitably than they might be able to do on their own? No longer enough to be interesting. You have to be interested.
Mic drop moment right there. Sam Richter, how can people get connected and stay connected to more Sam Richter brilliance? What resources, what websites, what can we give them as a takeaway?
Well, the best thing is to go to my website, samrichter, RICHTER.com, samrichter.com. You'll see a pop-up little window there when you get there, and you can register to download my tip sheets. So I've got different, here's how you use LinkedIn, here's how you use Google in ways you never thought possible. So it's really, really cool. You can learn all about my different programs there as well. And then my different engines, you can find kind of like, I call it the engine catalog store for now, is Intel Engine. And David, you're going to slap me because it's a horrible brand URL that I bought. I thought I was going to be cute, but it's Intel Engine, NGIN.com. Intel, INTEL, Engine, NGIN.com, where you can go and access the different custom search tools I developed.
Fantastic. And all of those links are going to be in the show notes directly under this episode, one click away for you when you go to thesellingshow.com. Sam Richter, you are a mensch, you are a rock star, and I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks. You too, buddy. Good. Looking forward to seeing you at our next conference.